The historical background of the Philippine literature. Philippine literature was born in Spanish, a rich literacy tradition before the Spanish arrived. It was the Spanish who started to publish to sea tales and stories. The work of Rizal, the best-known Filipino writer and national hero. In addition, Philippine literature is also rich tapestry woven from indigenous tradition, colonial influence, and evolving social and political landscape of the archipelago. These are the historical background of Philippine literature: pre-colonial period, Spanish colonial period, American colonial period, and post-colonial period. First, the pre-colonial period.
Colonial period, the dawn of oral tradition. Before the arrival of the Spanish, Philippine literature existed primarily in the form of oral traditions. These included epics,
The epics.
long narrative poems recounting the deeds of heroes and deities. Notable example include the Biyag ni Lamang for Ilocano, Hudhud ni Ali Goyon in Ifugao, Hinulawod in Panay, Ibalon in Bicol, and Darangin in Maranao. These epics provided insights into the beliefs, values, and social structures of different Filipino ethnic groups.
Folk tales.
For folk tales, stories passed down through generations, often featuring mythical creatures, magical objects, and lessons about life, morality, and societal norms. These tales included stories about Juan Tamad, Maria Makiling, and various creation myths. For the song, dances, and poems, these forms of expressions were used for rituals, celebrations, and storytellings. They reflected the daily lives, emotions, and aspirations of the people. This pre-colonial period was marked by a vibrant oral traditions where stories were passed down through generations, shaping the cultural consciousness of the Filipino people.
Spanish colonial period.
Spanish colonial period,
First, a fusion of culture.
a fusion of cultures. The Spanish colonizations of the Philippines to 1521 to 1898 brought about a significant shift in the literary landscape. The Spanish introduced their language, religion, and literary traditions, lending to a fusion of cultures. Key development during this period include religious literature.
Religious literature.
The Catholic faith heavily influenced literature with the production of religious drama, biographies of saints, and translations of religious texts. These works aim to spread Christianity and reinforce Spanish dominance. Secular literature.
Secular literature.
Alongside religious works, secular literatures emerged reflecting the growing Filipinos' consciousness and desire for self-expressions. Corridos or narrative poems about chivalry and romance, and await narrative poems about love and adventures became popular forms. Propaganda movement.
Propaganda movement.
The late 19th centuries saw the rise of the propaganda movements, a reform movement advocating for greater autonomy from Spain. This period produced influential writers like Jose Rizal, Marcelino H. del Pilar, and Graciano Lopez China, who used their writings to expose the injustice of Spanish rule and call for reforms. Rizal's novels No Limiting Tanghareto 1817 and El Filibusterismo to 1891 became powerful symbols of Filipino nationalism and play a crucial role in igniting the Philippines Revolution. The Spanish colonial period witnessed a transformation in the Philippine literature marked by the influence of European literary traditions, the immigrants of Aztec Filipino voice, and the rise of nationalist sentiments.
American colonial period.
American colonial period. A new literary landscape.
A new literary landscape.
The American occupation of the Philippines 1898-1946 brought about another significant shift in the literary landscape, the introduction of English as the medium of instruction in schools. When the Americans arrived in the Philippines in 1998, English was systematically promoted as the language that would civilize the Filipinos. Filipino writers were able to access a wider range of literary works from foreign countries and use them as inspiration to develop their own literary style. English literature.
English literature.
Filipino writers began experimenting with English, exploring new themes and styles. Zoilo Galang, A Child of Sorrow, 1921, is considered the first Filipino novel written in English. Naila si Zoilo Galang for being responsible for the first publication of several Philippine works in English throughout his career. Zoilo wrote history books for elementary students, modeled after popular 19th century romance written in Spanish and Tagalog. Short story writing.
Short story writing.
The short story gained popularity with writers like Manuel Arquila, Francisco Arcilana, and Nick Joaquin, producing works that explored Filipino life, culture, and social issues. Manuel Arquila, he is known for his widely anthologized short story How My Brother Leon Brought Home a Wife, ug nakadaog pud ni iyang short story which won first prize in the Commonwealth Literary Contest in 1940. Usa sa pinakasikat nga gihimo ni Francisco Arcilana ang The Mats. One of the admirable literary Filipino artists, the story talks about a typically Filipino family culture. Nick Joaquin, most famous short stories, The Woman Who Had Two Novels, His Magical Mokondo was the very real Philippines in all its beauty, splendor, and ruin. Poetry.
Poetry.
Filipino poets like Jose Garcia Vela made significant contribution to the development of modern poetry, introducing new techniques and styles. Jose Garcia Vela, he is known to have introduced the reverse consonant rhyme scheme in writing poetry, as well as the extensive use of punctuation mark, especially commas, which made him known as the comma poet.
Post-colonial period.
In post-colonial period, here are some that we need to explain. First is the nationalist literature. Next is political literature and Filipino language.
Post-colonial period is the historical period or state of affairs representing the aftermath of Western colonialism. The term can also be used to describe the concurrent project to reclaim and rethink the history. This period runs from the independence of the Philippines in 1946 through until the end of the presidency of Diosdado Macapagal. A flourishing of Filipino identity. After gaining independence in 1946, Philippines literature continued to evolve, reflecting the nation's struggles for economic development, social justice, and national identity. Here are the key developments during this period include: first, national literature. Writers like Carlos Bulusan, Alejandro Rosas, Ana Benvenido Santos explored themes of poverty, rural life, and the search for identity in a post-colonial world. Bulusan's America is in the Heart in 1946 became a powerful testament to the experiences of Filipino immigrants in the United States. The second one is political literature. In the 1960s and 1970s witnessed a surge in political literature with writers like Amado V. Hernandez and Luwalhati Bautista. using their works to critique social injustice, corruption, and the Marcos dictatorship. Hernandez, Mga Ibong Mandaragit in 1969, and Bautista's Dekada in 1984 became powerful expression of dissent and resistance. The third one is Filipino language. There was a renewed emphasis on writing a Filipino, the national language, as a way of promoting cultural identity and national unity. And the last one is the post-colonial period saw a flourishing of Filipino identity in literature, with writers addressing critical social and political issues and exploring the complexities of nationhood.
Contemporary Philippine literature. Here I need to be explained about contemporary literature. First, the digital platforms, the diverse themes, and the international recognition.
Contemporary Philippine literature, a global reach. The 21st century has witnessed a new wave of Filipino writers who are engaging with global literary trends and reaching a wider audience. There are the key developments driving this phenomenon. First, digital platforms. The rise of the internet and digital platforms like Wattpad has provided a new avenues for Filipino writers to publish and share their work with global audience. This has allowed for greater accessibility and exposure, breaking of geographical barriers and reaching readers worldwide. Second, diverse themes. Contemporary Filipino writers are tackling diverse themes including mental health, diversity, and social justice. These themes transcend cultural boundaries and offer fresh perspective on shared human experience. The third development key is international recognition. Filipino writers like Rin Chupico and Luis Bulaong have gained international recognition for their work introducing Filipino culture and mythology to a global audience. Their work has been translated into multiple languages, bringing Filipino stories to new readers and contributing to a broader understanding of Filipino identity. Then, the contemporary Philippine literature is the statement to the dynamism and creativity of Filipino writers who are engaging with global trends while remaining rooted in their cultural heritage.